All right, folks, John Henning here with the Franchise Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today, we're joined by Patrice McKinney. Now, Patrice is the CEO and founder of Encore Salon Suites, which is a very unique business model in franchising. I took a minute here before our interview and learned a little bit about the concept, and I'll tell you from what I saw online, this interview is going to be well worth your time, folks, so make sure to listen in. Patrice, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. My pleasure, for sure. So, look, before we get into all the business stuff, right, because it's Franchise Radio Show, we're going to talk all about franchising. But before we get into that stuff, can we chat about you personally a little bit, without giving up any, secrets or anything about Patrice? Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, where you at, that type of stuff? Just anything you think the listeners would want to know about you personally.
Sure. Well, I currently reside in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm from Michigan. I've been in Georgia for about 13 years now. Moved my entire family here initially for entertainment purposes. I do have an identical twin sister. Twins actually runs in our family. My mother actually had 3 sets of twins. But I do have an identical twin, so we initially moved here to pursue, modeling and things like that. I'm also an athlete. I play collegiate basketball. I had the opportunity to go to the WNBA. However, I wanted to dive into the entrepreneurship world, so I chose that route, and that's when I decided to move to Georgia. Lots of opportunities here in Georgia. Started out in the corporate, being operations manager and things like that at different jobs. And then I finally just made a big sacrifice and said, you know what, I really want to get into the hair and beauty industry. So I quit my job and went to hair school, became a master barber stylist. Fell in love with the industry, grew my clientele pretty fast, and kind of just took off since then. And now I'm a franchisor and focusing on the Salon Suite aspect of the hair and beauty industry. But it runs deep in our family. My mother, she did hair. My twin sister was also a braider. So I kind of picked up where they left off, and has been one of the greatest decisions I've ever made. So my family actually helps me work. They work for the company as well.
Wow.
So things are going really good. Mm-hmm.
That's great. Hey, real quick, though, I have to back up. You kind of sped past this. I want to clarify. Did you say your mom had 3 sets of twins?
So she had 3. Unfortunately, she did lose 1 set. But me and my twin, and then we have younger twin sisters that are 21 years old, and we're all identical.
That is amazing. So I happen to have a set of twin granddaughters as myself, so that's
cool.
why I ask. And it does run in our family too, but I've never actually talked to somebody that had 2 or 3 sets of twins as siblings in one family. That is amazing. Were there any singles in there? Any singles in there anywhere? There is.
There is a single. So we do have a brother.
Okay.
He's in the middle, so he's between us.
Let me get this straight. You have 2 twin sets of girls and then 1 brother in the middle. Is that what you're saying?
1 brother in the middle.
Maybe I need to interview him sometime. Have him fill us in. So, no, thanks for sharing that. I appreciate that. I found that in franchising, just like in any business, people do business with people, and it's one of my favorite phrases to use on the show because I'm a firm believer that, that's one of our key differentiators in life in general and also in business. Is who we surround ourselves with, who we partner up with, who we're the sum of that. What's that phrase they say? Sum of the 5 people you most associate with, right?
Yes, very true.
So that's why I always start out these interviews from the personal side, because I want folks to get to know you just as much as they're going to get to know your business. Now we're going to move right into the franchising stuff. How did you get into franchising? Like, you told us how you got into the beauty and hair care side of things. And correct my terminology if I'm wrong, but how did you take that from where you were at and get into franchising? Why use franchising as your expansion model?
Good question, and actually ties right into what you were just saying as far as, making sure you surround yourself with the right people. So long story short, I honestly had never thought about franchising. We had 2 locations at the time, and I had a friend who was like, hey, Patrice, you ever thought about franchising? Kind of like what McDonald's did and let people buy into your brand. And I said, wow, that's actually a pretty good idea. And just like most, I think a lot of people think it's a far-fetched idea and it requires all this. Well, it is a lot of paperwork, but it's not as difficult as you may think. It's easily attainable. So after a few conversations with my friend, I finally said, wow, that is a good idea. I never thought that big, but I appreciated him for sharing that with me. And so I dove right into it, started doing research, contacted a company who helped me set it up, and we've been going since then.
Look at that. Well, now let's talk about the business model itself, because this is one of those, you guys aren't doing, burgers or fries or milkshakes or servicing somebody's home, which are all great models, because I interview all kinds of franchisors. But your model is very unique, if I understand it correctly. And I don't want to speak for you, but I looked online at your model, and from what I gathered, it's probably one of the most unique business models in franchising that I've seen in 20 years. So tell our listeners about your model itself. What is it that you're actually selling to someone?
Okay, so basically it's Salon Suites. So compared to a traditional salon, what we do is we actually take a large space, we break it into smaller spaces that are about 90 to 100 square feet, and we lease out those small spaces to different beauty professionals. So a beauty professional can be a barber, a hairstylist, a cosmetologist, esthetician, anyone in the hair and the beauty or spa industry. And so what we do is we provide them the opportunity to operate their own business without all the overhead. So they just pay a flat weekly rate to us, and we literally are like the landlords in the hair and beauty industry. We literally are just collecting rent. As the owner of the Salon Suite business, you're not responsible for making sure that the beauty professionals get their clientele, whereas in a traditional salon, you're kind of micromanaging them. You kind of have to help them build their clientele. Whereas the Salon Suite business, like I said, you're literally just a landlord. So they understand coming into a Salon Suite that they are 100% responsible for their marketing, for their clientele. They even have to have their own business license. So they are truly operating 100% independent. And they like it because, nowadays everyone wants to be their own boss and run their own business. So they get to come in and fully customize the suites to reflect their style. So we allow them to paint, to truly make it their own salon or barbershop.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah, and it's definitely the newest concept. Everybody's starting to hear about it now and want to be a part of it. And it works, like I said, good for the beauty professional and the owner, because that's worked for us compared to a traditional salon. And it's truly a semi-absentee business.
I want to talk about two quick things there. I know this wasn't on the questions I sent over to you, but I don't think you'll mind answering. I'm just assuming that there's some cross-pollination here, too, when you're looking for those tenants. That if you have, I don't know, you'll tell us 20 different locations inside of there, and you've got 14 of them rented out, when you're talking to the 15th person that's going to come in, say, with a nail salon, and you're able to say, hey, look, there's a ecosystem. Is that what your kind of part of your pitch is to the person that's going to consider renting with you, is the ecosystem cross-pollination of clients? Because or maybe I should back up, I'm sorry, are you renting to more than one nail salon in the same facility?
Great question. So you don't have to really worry about how many hairstylists and how many barbers and how many nail techs you lease to. You lease to whoever is qualified, whoever has clientele, and they understand that they may possibly be working next to someone who offers the same services. So again, when they come into this Salon Suite, they understand they're 100% independent. It's not a matter of who's working beside you. It's a matter of you going out and finding your clientele however you need to. So that's the beautiful thing about it. You don't have to worry about making sure it's equal. Most of the time, you'll have majority hairstylists. You have a few barbers, a few lash techs. But, there are some locations where we have all hairstylists, and they all offer the exact same services.
And I'm assuming that's because they have their following, right? Like their tribe, right? Yeah. Okay, exactly. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And so you want to make sure as a franchisee, we would make sure that they're qualified. And basically that would mean just making sure that they already have some type of clientele, because you don't want anyone who's new. I recommend that they go to a traditional salon, but if they already have their clientele, it makes it easy for me, it makes it easy for them. Salon suites don't really get walk-ins, compared to traditional salons. So you really need to have your clientele in place.
No, I'm glad I swear I'm really excited that we're doing this interview. And you can listen to my previous interviews. I don't always say that, right? Because your model is so unique. And I want to just circle back to what I just asked you about a minute ago there, because you made a phrase that everybody in franchising loves to hear: semi-absentee model. Tell us a little bit about that side of it, because our listeners aren't going to know that phrasing. Those of us in franchising, we know what that means, but I want them to hear it in your words what that means.
Absolutely. So what that means is that it only requires to own a salon suite business, to own an Encore. Let me be very specific, because we have taken the time to create systems and automate everything. So to own an Encore suite franchise, you're looking at maybe an hour to two a week of work, and honestly, some weeks no work. The main thing is going to be filling your suite. So, and what we do is we set up a system where we help you pre-lease the suites. The goal is to pre-lease your suites and fill your building before you even open.
Wow.
Yes. And so, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought here.
Pre-lease the suites?
Pre-lease the suites, correct.
Mm-hmm.
So 1 to 2 hours a week. And, again, there's sometimes where you don't even really need to communicate with the beauty professionals. The main reason you would only need to visit the location is if there's a plumbing issue or an electrical issue. Other than that, you really don't need to visit. You know, it's just like a landlord. You're collecting your rent, and even that is automated, so you don't have to physically go in and collect your rent. So the only work you're really looking at once you're full is we collect rent on Saturday. So on Monday or Tuesday, you want to make sure all your money hits. And that's pretty much it. Again, once they're full, it just kind of runs itself.
I just want to clarify to our listeners, don't think that they're going to become a plumber. So the owner's going to make sure that there is a leak, and then he's going to call a plumber, right? You're not necessarily, as a semi-absentee business owner in this model, you're not carrying wrenches and tools with you and fixing the pipe under the sink. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, so
you
definitely want to have your plumber in place and your electrician in place.
Yep.
Now, another thing I like to talk about is no employees, right? This is really big.
Right.
So how do you have no employees? What we do is we just take one of the beauty professionals who are working at the location, and we appoint them as the salon manager. And they basically act as the liaison between the franchisee and the rest of the beauty professionals. So, for example, if there's a leak or something like that, or a maintenance issue, only that beauty professional, the salon manager, will contact the owner and notify them. Then they'll call out their maintenance team. That way you don't have 20 to 30 people calling you for the same issue. Now, what I do in return is I just discount her suite rent by maybe like 10-15%. I think it's like $50 a week. So we're paying her like $200, where we're discounting her $200 just to act as the liaison.
And that makes your life so much better, right?
So much better. And there's weeks and sometimes months literally where we don't even talk. You know, because, you know, if everything's working right and your build out is nice and, you know, you don't have any issues, there's really no reason to communicate other than just following up and touching up and making sure, you know, everyone's doing okay. But other than that, that's it.
I want to, if it's okay with you, Patrice, I want to go just a little, staying in the line where we're going here, but I don't want to, if it's okay, just that list I sent you of questions, I just want to vary that by just a little bit. Is that okay?
No problem.
Okay, good. And the reason I'm asking these, because these are the questions I think that buyers are going to be asking, right? Okay, now that I'm understanding your model a little bit more better than I did before, you're definitely not a traditional model. So my next question, Patrice, is around the area. Like, is this where someone's buying a single unit franchise, or are they buying a franchise for an area and opening up multiple units within that territory? How does the structure work of your franchise?
So either or. So they could either buy one location. So you're looking at, let's talk square footage for a building. You're looking at anywhere from maybe 2,500 square feet to 5,000 square feet for one unit. Okay. Within that unit, you can fit anywhere from 12 suites to 25 suites, depending on how big it is. Mm-hmm. And so you would, like, again, you can do an individual unit or you can do a multi-unit. So we would get that space, preferably like a doctor's office or a dentist's office where they already have the electricity and the plumbing. Sure. Those are really easy to transition into a salon suite. Mm-hmm. But you would focus on beauty professionals in that area, and again, try to pre-lease the suites once it's built out. Now, I like to just talk about the biggest difference between Encore and other salon suites, because this is really big. And this is one of the number one reason our build-out cost isn't so high. So I did a poll with a lot of beauty professionals because I'm one myself, and I actually worked in a salon suite. And most of them actually preferred an unfurnished suite over a furnished suite, meaning they prefer just a blank canvas, an empty room. They don't want a dryer. They don't want a shampoo bowl, anything. Now, our competitors, they usually furnish all of their suites. So you're going to meet your suite. It's already going to have a shampoo bowl, a dryer, a chair. But what I learned is they actually prefer unfurnished because they want to be more creative. They want a purple chair. They want an orange chair. So that knocks our build-out cost down because we don't have to, one, run plumbing in every single suite. Two, we don't have to furnish every single suite. But how we compensate for that is we create a shared space. So we just build out a space and we put some shampoo bowls, maybe 4 or 5 shampoo bowls, 4 or 5 dryers, and the beauty professionals can all share that space. Now, the benefit of that, right, the benefit is that they actually get to socialize, right? Our competitors, the salon suites are so private, you never even know who you're working next to because you never have to come out, right?
Right.
So here at our model, they're able to socialize with other beauty professionals, and then they become friends, and now they want to stay, and that's why our turnover rate is so low. So they actually really enjoy being able to step out for a second, you know, wash their client's head and say hi and ask a question to another beauty professional, and then go back into their private suite. So it's a win-win for both parties.
Well, I just picked up on a couple of key things there, Patrice. I want to make sure I point these out, okay? So number one, folks, listen into what Patrice said. She surveyed her clients, okay? Not many companies do that. Like my clients are beauty professionals here. So you asked her, folks, because of your experience, you said, hey, this is what I think, but let me ask the people who are going to be footing the bill, right? The people who are going to put their money where their mouth is and foot that bill. So that's number one. And, man, that is huge. Like, you literally, you could go through our episodes, last 50 episodes. I don't think anybody's ever said that they've ever done something like the second thing that was there, because it literally was like my next question that I was going to ask you was about twofold, was the build out and retention. Like literally, like I swear, folks, we did not practice this ahead of time. Okay. So the interesting thing you mentioned was about the build out. I love this idea of the share space on so many different fronts and on the lower cost, right? Because the build out, if you're looking at one of your competitors, they've got to put, you know, all the plumbing in every single one of those suites, which increases your build out costs. You may never use it. Right? Exactly. Then they have to furnish all the suites and hope that whoever they lease to likes the furniture and takes care of it, you know? Which, you know, I could see it from that side, but as far as it's one stop, here it is, boom, you're in business, but the benefit of the way you're doing it far outweighs what everybody else is doing out there. So I think what I'm hearing is everybody else is doing business this way, and it's not that you're just different. It's like you're all the way over here. It sounds like you're the only company actually doing business this way is what I'm hearing, right?
Yes. Yep. So far, I do believe we are the only one that offers unfurnished. So we do offer maybe like a few. We'll do like 5 furnished because there is a small amount of people that do want to turnkey ready. And then we do majority unfurnished. Literally just walls and the floor, and you'll be surprised at how they transform these suites. If you go to our website and see some of these suites, I mean, they put a lot of time and money into it. And because we allow them to do that, now they're going to stay. They don't want to invest in all of this and then move. So, you know, they really stay for a very, very long time.
You know, well, that's the second thing that I really liked about your shared space and what you just said about letting them get creative and make it their own is your turnover is going to be so much lower. So you're, as an owner, I don't have to constantly be out there recruiting or trying to find new beauty professionals to fill in. I'm sure every once in a while you have to do that. Of course, it's just business, right? But you know, it's got to be so much less than what you're looking at with other similar models. I really congratulate you on putting this together. So you basically just woke up one morning and had this idea and put it all together in one day, right?
Well, not necessarily. So I started out in a traditional barbershop, right? And then I got invited to a spot, and I went inside, and I said, whoa, I saw this other guy doing it, and he did it on a much bigger scale. So he would allow you to rent out space where you could put like 6 chairs and operate literally like your own salon within his. So he did it on a much larger scale, and I realized that was a lot because then he had to worry about all the issues amongst the people within that space. So it became a lot. So I said, well, if I do it, let's do it just individual suites. And so for the most part, we do individual. I may do one double suite where 2 or 3 stylists can work, but I like to keep it majority just individual suites. So long story short, I saw that concept, and literally he's built another location, and I went over there, and I would go like every week and just watch from when they had the tape on the floor, and I just took notes, and I worked inside of it. And I learned a lot working inside of it. I said, okay, he doesn't understand this because he's not a beauty professional. Right. So me being one, I was able to really understand what we need and what they need. And that's why our turnover rate is really, really low. At one location, I mean, we haven't had anyone leave in probably like a year. And we have a crazy waiting list.
That is great. That's great. Now, I want to ask you a question. It's one of the ones I sent you ahead of time. what's the biggest myth in the model? Like, what do people, when people first start talking with you, what do they say? Well, you know, they make an assumption, and it's like, you know, 9 out of 10 people you talk with about your model make this same assumption. What is that? What do you hear over and over again that not couldn't be further from the truth type thing, but just isn't accurate? What is that myth in your model that everybody comes to you with?
That you need hair and beauty experience to own Salon Suite business.
There you go. I knew your answer already, so, yeah.
I couldn't wait for that one. You absolutely do not need any hair or beauty experience whatsoever to own an Encore Salon Suites franchise. All you really need is just some management skills, some good communication skills, and if you're a good listener, you'll be great because, like I said, we've taken the time to really create systems and automate this entire process. Even when we're at full capacity, we still send out communications to our beauty professionals so that they feel important and they don't feel like we're just taking their money. We also do things like call out a financial advisor and have them come speak to the beauty professionals to show them that we support their business as well. So things like that go a long way. Just communicating, even when you're full, go a long way.
You know, it's interesting that you said that because I find in most companies, and this has nothing to do with franchising, but just in most companies in general, communication is an often used word that isn't used a lot, if you know what I'm saying, right?
Absolutely.
So I like what you're doing where you could go with that, you know, provide those additional no-cost services to you, right? It doesn't cost you anything to have that financial advisor come in. But it's such a value add for your tenants. What do you call them? Do you call them tenants? Are they partners? What do you call them?
Nope. So we like to call them beauty professionals so that they feel like the bosses that they are. Behind the scenes, we refer to them as tenants, but when we're speaking to them, we definitely use beauty professionals.
Beauty professionals. That's great. That is great, and I really love it. Now, let's talk, without going too deep into it, because we know this is a longer conversation, let's talk just a little bit on the numbers on the investment side. What should somebody expect to invest in your franchise for a single unit in a market? They're coming from a non-beauty professional background, right, or an ex-executive, a VP of marketing, or whatever it is, and they're coming to you, and they say, I want to do this. They go through the due diligence. Everything makes sense both directions. You award the franchise. They're ready to buy. What's their just rough total investment to open up?
So I would say anywhere from $125,000 to $300,000, and so that really depends on the condition of the building. Like I mentioned earlier, if you find an old doctor's office or an old dentist, that build out can be $60,000, you know, for 15, maybe 20 suites because it's literally pretty much ready. You just have to paint and do some flooring and things like that. So including the franchise fee, it can be as low as $120,000, $125,000.
That's great.
Yeah. So, you know, if you have to do a full build out, and let me be clear on those numbers. So 125, that would be for maybe like a 15 suite location.
Yep.
Of course, if you go bigger, it costs more. Of course, if you do a completely full build out, it'll cost more. The main thing is just making sure that the rent makes sense. So, you know, we're not like retail where we make more money during the holiday or thing like that. Once your suites are full, that's all you make. So you want to make sure the numbers make sense in regards to the rent. And just to give you an example of our location, we have a 16-suite location. That location took about $80,000 to $90,000 to build out. We generate about $250,000 on that location, and we net about $160,000. So I like to always compare this to real estate, if you don't mind, really quick.
Yeah, that's great. I love that comparison. Yep.
Yes, because I tell people all the time, you can take a space the size of like a restroom. But again, we're talking about 95 to 100 square feet.
Right.
Lease it out and make anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 a month off of just that one space that's empty. So I tell people all the time, I have 16 units. It's like an apartment complex, you know. I have friends that own houses that make maybe $800, $900, and then the maintenance man has to drive to different locations. With the Salon Suite, you're all under one roof. And it's just really lucrative. You know, people are still surprised at how much these beauty professionals are paying, but you have to understand the ones that already have their clientele, which are the ones that typically work in a Salon Suite, they make pretty good money. So 1 week's rent is probably 1 or 2 clients. You know, it's not really that bad to them. But, I always like to just use that real estate comparison to show people how small the space is, how much it can generate. Some of our suites, 150 square feet, can generate up to $2,500 a month off of just that one suite. So if you have 15 of those, we're talking some pretty good numbers.
That's great. And can I clarify, you mentioned weekly. It sounds like it's a weekly payment structure where your beauty professionals are paying on Saturday at the end of the week, right? So you've got pretty quick cash flow there for the revenue stream as well, right?
Exactly. It is weekly, and that is pretty normal for Salon Suites and just for the hair and beauty industry in general. It's usually always weekly. So the rates that I mentioned, a suite that's 95 to 100 square feet typically leases for like $250 a week. And that's
right. Yep.
So, yeah,
oh, wow, that's
those
great.
are all weekly rates.
That is great. Let's talk business a little bit now that we've talked about all of that. I'm sorry we got so far off track. I just got so excited about your concept itself.
No worries.
I'm getting ready to have you send me the FDD so I can start reviewing this thing. It's the business side of it. What does the due diligence process itself look like? So tell us kind of, scale of where you're at as a company, like how many locations, where are you primarily located, where are you looking to grow, okay? And then tell us about what that process looks like. If somebody wants to raise their hand, what should they do, and then what kind of process should they expect? So start with the, where are you at, how many do you have, and where do you want to grow, and then just go into the here's how we do the due diligence and information discovery.
Got it. So we currently have 2 corporate locations here in Georgia. We have 1 franchise location. And actually, any day now, we'll be signing our second franchise. We're doing our last negotiating on the lease. So we should be having our second franchise. That'll be in Georgia as well. So we'll have 4 locations. We are looking to expand outside of Georgia. We're really excited about, like, the Florida area, Texas, the Carolinas, Tennessee, Alabama. We'd really like to expand in those areas where it's not so popular. It's really popular here in the Georgia area. So that's where we're at now. We're getting a lot of traction, a lot of attention. So we're talking to a lot of franchisees or potential franchisees and things like that. People are really excited about it. So we're really excited about the growth this year. In regards to the process, due diligence, basically, we would, of course, have a couple of conversations, and then we would also help the franchisee. If they don't have a location, we would help them find a location wherever they're at. We have a realtor team already in place for several different states, so we can all tackle it together and help find location. We'll make sure, of course, we'll discuss budget. And when it comes to location, now a lot of people think that you have to be in like a metro area. You have to be downtown. Well, the beautiful thing is, people get their hair done all over the world, right? And it's also a recession-proof industry. Let me mention that, because even through COVID, it didn't really affect our industry that much because we're already pretty much social distance. So what we did is we closed down the lobby and things like that. But it only affected us when the mayor made us shut down for like 6 weeks. Right. But other than that, the clients were still coming in. Everyone was masked up and everything, but they felt much safer coming into a salon suite compared to a traditional salon. So
yeah, makes sense. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. So back to the process, we will help you find the location, discuss the budget, discuss the size of the location, because if you're not in a metro area, which is totally okay, we have a location that's not in the metro area. The city population, I believe is like 60,000, and we have 12 suites, and that generates like 140,000. So it just would depend on the population. You don't have to go big. If it's a smaller city, you can do 10 to 12 suites. And that's the other great thing compared to our competitors. They usually do 35, 40 suites. You don't have to go that big. You can do 10 and still make pretty good money. You could do 15 or 20. So we would help them determine what size they should look for in the area. We would also assist with the build out and make sure we're getting the most space out of it in regards to suites, because you don't really need a big lobby area. You just need like a directory when they walk in, and then we're going to start building those suites so we can get more money out of it. And then, of course, we'll assist them throughout the build-out and just answer any questions they have. Then we'll determine when it's time to start pre-leasing, and we will literally help them pre-lease from our website, as well as show them how to do it on their own. So we'll do extensive training just to make sure they understand how to market and how to pre-lease. But, again, we'll be right there holding their hand. And then we'll open, and then we'll show them how to automate everything and how to fill the suites and how to manage everything. And that's pretty much it. They'll have ongoing support forever, so we'll always be available for the franchisees.
Man, that is a great story. I really appreciate your time. Can you take the last minute here just to give us a quick recap? Number one, is, why franchise with you? There's a lot of opportunities out there that folks are looking at these days, right? But I think I already answered, but tell us why someone should consider franchising with you specifically. And then number two part of that is how should they be reaching out to you, right? Like give them some contact info, website, whatever you're comfortable with giving them here on the recording. So tell us, why franchise with you specifically and how should they be reaching out to you?
Awesome. Well, Encore Salon Suites, me and my twin sister, who is actually the president of Encore Salon Suites, we have really taken the time, like I mentioned several times, to really create systems. I believe systems are really important. We have taken the time to really automate everything to truly make this a semi-absentee business. And it really is. I feel like a lot of people use that word loosely, but this is truly a semi-absentee business. There's no hair and beauty experience required. So anyone can do this, any age, young or old. It is the newest concept in the multi-billion-dollar hair and beauty industry. So, you'll be one of the first to open one in your area. We'll have ongoing support forever for myself and my twin sister. And our build-out cost just isn't that much, so in compared to our competitors. So now is the perfect time, and we're just really excited and passionate about our brand. So
that's great. And how should folks reach out to you? What's your website?
Sure. So our website is EncoreSalonSuites.com. You can click on the franchising tab for more information. You can also email us at franchise@EncoreSalonSuites.com, and someone will definitely reach back out in 24 or 48 hours.
That is great. Patrice, thank you so much for your time. Folks, we were joined there for that interview with Patrice McKinney, the CEO and founder of Encore Salon Suites. This is John Henning here, coming from the Franchise Radio Show. Patrice, thank you so much for a great interview.
Thank you, John.